and the Fed.
To argue against the rights and premises I'm about to put forth implies the state grants rights, which further implies the state can take them away and do with you how it pleases. But we all want to live in a civilized, just world, and to live in one, everyone must have inalienable rights the moment they come into being. Rights that transcend politics and the state itself. The premises foundational to any just society are self-ownership, the non-aggression principle, private property, and voluntary exchange. No man or group of men may aggress upon the person or property of anyone else, ever. At its heart are four interconnected premises that form the ethical and practical foundation of a free society. Get this right, and everything else logically follows. Get them wrong, and you end up justifying slavery, theft, and tyranny, often with a badge and a flag. These aren't just arbitrary rules, they are derived from basic requirements of human survival and cooperation. They're what you need if you want to live peacefully with other rational beings without turning existence into a permanent war zone. You own yourself, your mind, your body, your life choices, 100%. No one else has claim on you. If you don't own yourself, then somebody else does, and that is slavery. It doesn't matter if they call it the social contract, or the common good, or patriotic duty. If someone can make decisions about your body without your consent, you are not free, you are property. Self-ownership is the starting point for all rights. It's the foundation on everything else. Think about it this way. Your body is your first piece of property, literally and figuratively. Before you can own anything external, you have to own yourself. Before you can claim rights to land, tools, labor, you need to exclusive control over the person doing the laboring. There is somewhat of a common objection, which is, what about kids? What about people who can't make decisions for themselves? Guardianship. It's temporary and fiduciary, meaning the guardianship acts for the benefit of the dependent, not as its owner. Parents do not own their kids, they are trustees until the kid matures, and if they abuse that trust, they've violated the principle and intervention is justified. The disabled or mentally incapacitated? Same logic. Guardianship is about protecting self-ownership when someone temporarily or permanently cannot exercise it fully, not erasing it. The bottom line is, self-ownership is universal. You are born with it. It's not guaranteed by governments or granted by governments. And it cannot be revoked just because someone in a suit says so. The non-aggression principle is simple. No one may initiate force, fraud, or coercion against another person or their property. Defensive force is fine. Initiating it is not. This is the ethical line in the sand. It takes self-ownership from an abstract concept and turns it into a rule for living together. Murder, theft, assault, fraud, those are all aggression. They violate someone else's self-ownership or property. Voluntary contracts, charity, self-defense, trading goods, those are all fine. No one is being coerced. The non-aggression principle protects self-ownership in practice. You cannot own yourself if someone can punch you in the face, steal your stuff, or force you into labor. The principle makes it clear. Initiating force is wrong. Responding to force is justified. Here's the kicker. The NAP applies to everyone, no exceptions. Not for politicians, not for bureaucrats, not for people in uniforms. If it's wrong for me to rob you, it's wrong for someone with a badge to rob you and call it taxation. If it's wrong for me to kidnap you, it's wrong for the government to conscript you. The government, the emperor, has no clothes. Some people get to punch you, steal your wallet, and call it public policy? The NAP is the honest kid in the crowd yelling, "Dude, you're naked." And before anyone says, "But what about national defense?" Or the roads? Hold on. Those are practical questions, and markets have answers. But even if they didn't, convenience does not justify aggression. You don't get to violate ethics just because it seems useful or convenient. The NAP isn't necessarily the entire legal system, it's the basis for one. It's the constitution of a legal system. Traffic rules, contract enforcement, tort law, all these can exist on top of it, as long as it does not initiate force against peaceful people. Self-ownership extends to external things through the concept of homesteading. That's first use plus a claim or voluntary transfer. Here's why property rights are necessary. Without them, self-ownership is meaningless. You can't act if someone can take your tools, your land, or the fruits of your labor. You are just a mind trapped in a body with no way to interface with reality. Humans need scarce resources to survive. Land, food, materials, and tools, these things are rivalrous, meaning if I am using them, you cannot simultaneously use them without conflict. Property rights are the solution. Clear rules for who controls what, so we are not constantly fighting over every rock and tree. The consistent way to establish the ownership is homesteading. The first person to find an unclaimed resource and put real work into using or improving it becomes its owner. You mix your labor, an extension of your self-ownership, with the resources, and it's now yours. You can keep it as long as you want until you choose to sell it or give it away or abandon it. Here's the crucial part. Someone advocating that latecomers are own a portion or all of your property lands in a contradiction. Because then once they make that claim, you can claim to be a latecomer to their property and demand it back. The whole system collapses into might makes right. Voluntary transfer is the other way property changes hands. Trade, gifts, inheritance. If I own something and you own something, we can swap. Consensual exchange represents both parties' self-ownership and property. Property solves conflicts over scarce goods and services. Ideas and patterns? Not scarce. My use of a recipe does not deprive you of using that recipe at the same time. That's why I reject intellectual property. It's not property at all. It's government-granted monopoly that lets you control other people's scarce resources, like their ink, their paper, their factories. Bottom line, private property rights aren't arbitrary. They are derived from self-ownership and the requirements of peaceful coexistence in a world of scarcity. All interactions ought be consensual. No force, no fraud, no coercion. What happens at scale? You get free markets. Here's why voluntary exchange works. It coordinates billions of individual preferences better than any central planner ever could. Price signals scarcity. Entrepreneurs discover solutions. Consumers vote with their wallets. No one needs to be coerced into making the right choice. People make trade-offs and opportunity costs based on what they value most. And crucially, voluntary exchange represents self-ownership and the non-aggression principle. If I trade my labor for your money or my wheat for your tools, we are both better off. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. No one is being aggressed upon. Now contrast that with coercion. Taxes are force. You didn't agree to hand over 30+% of your income. Someone just takes it and threatens you with prison if you resist. Regulations backed by fines or jail time? Also force. They are not voluntary guidelines, they are commands with guns behind them. Free markets are not perfect. No human system can be. But they're the only system compatible with ethical premises. Every other system, socialism, fascism, the mixed economy we have now, requires violating self-ownership, ignoring the NAP, and overriding property rights. I'll be covering why government is inherently less efficient than markets in a later video. For now, just understand voluntary exchange isn't just better at allocating resources, it's the only ethical, defensible way to do it. Self-ownership, you own yourself fully and completely. The non-aggression principle. No one can initiate force against you or your property. Property rights. Self-ownership extends to external resources via homesteading or trade. Voluntary exchange. All interactions must be consensual. Markets emerge naturally from this. These four premises form a coherent and connected core. They explain why we should oppose the state, support free markets, and defend individual liberty above all. They're not just political talking points. They are the logical requirement of a just and free society, one where humans can cooperate, thrive, and live without constant fear of aggression. Get these premises right, and the rest follows. Reject them, and you're left trying to justify why some people get to rule others, why theft is okay if you call it taxation, why slavery is okay if you call it conscription. The emperor has no clothes, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.